Hey guys, how are you? It's Zach from Zach Loves Books. I know I haven't done a post in a long time, maybe over 2 months. I'm kind of in a reading slump. And, there's just a lot going on that's prevented me from doing what people think should be, the typical things that you do when you're on BookTube. Lately, it's been kind of demotivating. I've been tagged a few times in some tags. Some of you may have been wondering where I've been. I'm still here. I haven't given up on the channel yet, in case some of you who do watch or maybe wait think I've given up on the channel. I haven't, though I've thought about it. I'm kind of rethinking why I'm doing all this in the first place. There's a booktuber online called Elvis Talks Books, I think. So I just saw that he's leaving BookTube after 5 years, so it's not very motivating to hear when someone is leaving BookTube after 5 years. Shoot, I didn't bring my coffee out. Let me go get that. Yeah, so as I was saying, I have the coffee now. One of my new mugs. Book first, movie later. Got that for my birthday. It was my birthday 2 days ago. Not that anybody knew. It's really weird. I've been watching people. There's the same booktubers I watch all the time from last year. I'm still watching people like Jeff at Reading Still Matters, Mike at Bibliophile-Bookscape, Nick from Books Are Sick, Life on Books, Tony from Life on Books. And I've discovered so many new booktubers, and there's just not enough time. It's like every time I go on the internet, the algorithm serves me up a booktuber I've never seen. And I don't have time to watch everybody I want to watch, let alone read and make new YouTube book content. So that's why you don't really see me here, because juggling family, life, work, reading, making new BookTube content while watching people leave the platform, new people come in, and it just seems, just like they say, and I like urban crime fiction, and just like they say, on these corners in the inner cities, these booktubers, it's kind of like when drug dealers drop off, and one drug dealer drops off on a corner, there's another one right to replace them. It's like every time somebody leaves BookTube, or any content creator in any genre, there's 10 more to replace them. It's like you'd think you discovered all the good booktubers out there, and then you stop watching, some of the ones that you regularly watch, and then a host of all sorts of new booktubers pop up that you've never seen before, and you're like, how did I miss these? Because they're not all brand new, but some of them are just as amazing as some of the ones you already watched, but you don't have the time. I'm out here on my balcony today, a little bit of a different background. No studio lighting, no script. Not that I ever scripted before, but I would try to plan a little bit of what I was going to say. This is really more like an off the cuff, more like a life update, as if you just bumped into me on the street and said, "Hey, Zach, where have you been?" In this case, Zach from Zach Loves Books. Like Jeff at Reading Still Matters says, nobody's watching anyway. At least sometimes we think that. But, I agree with Jeff, and yet I don't agree too, because, Jeff says nobody's watching, but I'm watching your videos, Jeff. And you could be a small booktuber, or you could be a big booktuber, and you don't know who's watching, and you don't know who you could be affecting with your latest BookTube content update, what you're saying in relation to the books that you're sharing with people, what you're reading. And like, I keep bringing up Jeff from Reading Still Matters, but I like what Jeff said. He says he watches a lot of booktubers, not only for the BookTube content that they bring, but just even for the non-BookTube conversations that they have on camera because he finds it entertaining. So that's what this is today. This is a completely unscripted, random post. It's just like a random BookTube post. There's that quote that says, "Dance like nobody's watching." This is like make a BookTube content video like nobody's watching. I mean, I have to stay relevant, and if I don't post something now, people are going to think I'm dead or something, or that I gave up my channel. So I plan to post more, but I'm really in a slump and trying to decide where I want to go with this. I just don't want to do book hauls and reviews and a book club and the typical things that people do on a monthly basis. So my channel is just going to be random because that's the way that I read before I ever started the channel. I don't want to start scripting and start planning posts on a weekly basis or monthly basis because I'm trying to gain viewership and subs and trying to get monetized. I just want to forget about all that and take the opposite approach where if I just do random posts, let's see where it'll take me. You know how they say when the more you try, the less you get, but because you're trying to control something. But then if the less you try, then things start happening. It's when you don't try. So let's take this approach and see if what some of the big content creators out there are saying is that the videos that are really going viral right now and that people are liking are the ones where people are regular people talking about random things are just going viral, where they're non-scripted, not professional looking, where they're not clickbaity and they're not trying to get views to monetize. It's so let's do that. I'm just going to continue to be me, but I'm still going to throw in books because that's what I'm about and that's what I started with. So let's just talk about some random books. And because I don't read as fast as some other people, I'm just going to show you some books that I've picked up lately that maybe you might find interesting. Coffee's finished. Here's one that I picked up. George Pelecanos, Sweet Forever, crime fiction. I don't know if you're familiar with George Pelecanos. If you've ever watched The Wire, I think he was a co-producer or co-writer on The Wire along with Dan Simon? Who created The Wire? And George Pelecanos writes some really gritty crime fiction books. He's based out of Baltimore, I think. Maybe Laura Lippman might also be based out of Baltimore. They both are great fiction writers. But if you want to read some gritty, grimy street fiction, I recommend George Pelecanos. Check him out. This is kind of cool. Old mass trade paperback. Vietnam, 1968 to 1969, a battalion sergeant's journal. With what's going on in the world, they say it's good to know your history, why we enter wars, should the Vietnam War have happened. I don't know, I'm not a history buff, but I want to learn more about the Vietnam War, and not just from textbooks and old news, but from books like this. This is a journal from a surgeon who would help mend vets back in Vietnam. It's an old book. I found it, but I like books like this that give you an inside account of what it was like there. It's not the only one out there. It's not the only one I have, but it seems interesting. I don't know if I'll I'll get to it anytime soon, but if you're curious. This is kind of interesting. This is a dupe that I have, The Billionaire Murders. I'm really into true crime fiction, and one day I plan maybe to do a bookshelf tour of all my true crime, and I've read a lot of true crime. This one is really interesting and kind of hits home, meaning home like Toronto, Ontario, Canada for us, for you that are in the States, because it's about a couple who own a pharmaceutical company here in Toronto. I think it's Apotex, and they were found murdered in their home a couple of years back, and the murder's never been solved, and no one's ever been charged in the cold case. Ben and Honey Sherman, I think, are their names, and it's really baffling. Some are saying that it may have been a mob hit, or definitely had something to do with money and business, because they were billionaires and they lived in a really ritzy area here in Toronto. And this is the only book, that really dives deep into the investigation of the murder so far. So this is actually a dupe for me. I found a free copy, so I'm going to give one of these away. But when I get to it, I will definitely share here, with you guys what I thought about this. Here's one that, when I used to work at a bookstore, there are some books that people would come up to me and tell me that changed their lives forever. And I see it all the time, and I found a copy. And I've never read it, but I started it. But The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Not to be mistaken with The Automatic Habit, which is also a bestseller. So, books on habits. This came out before The Atomic Habit. It's supposed to be a powerful book. I had a customer tell me that this book absolutely changed his life, and I found an extra copy. It's a dupe. I'm going to give this away, but check that out if you're looking for something that's supposed to be really good, and you're into the whole self-help genre. I actually met Charles Duhigg when I worked for the book reseller Indigo here in Toronto. When this book first came out, he was down at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, and he was signing copies of this book, and he did a presentation. And sadly for him, it's like he just released it and nobody came to the presentation, maybe like a handful of people. And we were outside of the auditorium with stacks of the books waiting for people to buy them, and for him to, maybe sign a few copies as on his way out and talk to a few people. But sadly, nobody was there when he released it and launched it. And who would have known that it would become a bestseller? But yeah, if you're looking for something to read that could potentially change your life, not according to me, but according to a customer that I talked to. So, Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. This is kind of cool. Another random find, Biofeedback and Mindfulness in Everyday Life. I'm kind of interested in mindfulness, to me, this is going to be the year of change, the year of self-improvement. I want to start maybe doing some Tai Chi, some yoga, some meditation. The thought of doing things more mindfully really intrigues me. And I have some books on mindfulness, but the reason why this one intrigues me is because it talks about biofeedback. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I think the fact that this is a book that's a combination of biofeedback and mindfulness would just bring an interesting perspective to it. That's all I can say about it. I don't know anything else about it. But if I go through it and get any good ideas from it, or any insights or eureka moments, anything like that, I'll let you know. It's by Ina Kazan, PhD. Check that out. For those of you that are into parables, Spencer Johnson the present. It's kind of a play on words, like there's nothing like the present moment. It's a short read. Also self-help genre if you need a little pick-me-up. Kind of a classic. Spencer Johnson, same guy who wrote Who Moved My Cheese. And there's another one about penguins. He writes parables. But yeah, you know, another one to help keep you grounded in the present moment. A freebie. Hey.
Oh my gosh, honey.
I'm filming.
Right now?
Yeah. Why, you want to say something?
I know what you're filming right now,
Yeah.
so I can be in a video.
Well, if you want. Say hi.
Hi.
My son. He came out to say hello.
Yeah, hi.
We're just talking books, and it's kind of cold out here, right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna go back inside? Are you reading anything interesting right now?
Not really.
No? Okay. We'll see you in a bit, okay?
Okay.
See you inside.
So this will go on YouTube?
Yeah. Okay.
God bless.
Cute kid. Here's another one that's very cool. Another one I've always wanted to read. It's kind of new. Kind of a business book, so I guess just get right to it. It's by Wes Hall, called No Bootstraps When You're Barefoot. And Wes Hall is like a businessman, Jamaican descent, Canadian, not Canadian born, but lives here in Canada. I think his business is here in Canada. Very successful, sort of like Michael Chin, who's another successful Jamaican or Canadian. I don't know if Michael Chin is Canadian Jamaican, but you know, he came from a really poor village in Jamaica, and now, you know, he's a very successful businessman. And he says that he's been in boardrooms and other places that when people who know what village he came from in Jamaica and where he was born, they're like, how did you become so successful from coming from such humble beginnings? And that's what this book is about, that against all odds, he became successful on his own terms in the corporate world. So if this is your type of thing and you like that kind of business motivation coming from nothing rags to riches story from a Canadian Jamaican's perspective, then you may want to check this out.